What is up, my fellow Jets fans? Welcome back to another episode of the New York Jets State of Mind podcast. This is a weekly podcast talking about everything New York Jets on this Thursday, August 28th, 2025. This is your boy, Malcolm Harper, aka MH Jets Fan 83. You can follow me on social media on X, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at MH Jets Fan 83, which is one word, all lowercase. I also have a Facebook page as well. The audio version of this podcast is available on any of the digital platforms of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Amazon Music. You can find the video version of this podcast on my YouTube channel if you prefer to watch. To all of my first-time listeners, welcome to my podcast. Or if you're a first-time viewer watching this on my YouTube channel, welcome aboard. If you are already a subscriber, welcome back. Also, if you could do me a favor and share my channel and podcast with not only other Jets fans, but NFL fans, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for tuning in. I have a lot to get into. In this episode, I will recap last Friday night's game against Philadelphia Eagles, the updated 53-man roster that includes the players that were claimed off the waiver wire yesterday, the general manager, Darren Mougey, speaking to the media today, the latest Jets news, my season preview, my game-by-game predictions, and my bold predictions of what will happen this upcoming season. Let's start with the final preseason game against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Jets lost 19-17. The Jets fall to 1-2 in the preseason. But I will say the final quarter was exciting with the Jets scoring 14 points in the fourth quarter. Preseason is now in the rearview mirror. Now, the regular season starts a week from tonight with the Cowboys and the Eagles, and the Jets will have their season opener next Sunday at MetLife Stadium at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers, which I will have my thoughts on how it will play out along with the rest of the games, which I will be doing later in the episode. Now, let's get to the updated 53-man roster. I will go position by position with my thoughts. Let's start with the quarterbacks. No surprise, it's Justin Fields and Tyrod Taylor. I'm glad that Brady Cook was signed to the practice squad. Moving along to the running backs. No surprise here as well, with the first three running backs of Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, and Isaiah Davis. The fourth running back is Kenny Ngwawu, but I think he's going to be used more on special teams, especially on kickoff returns. Now, let's move to the fullback position. No surprise, it's Andrew Beck. Moving along to the wide receivers, we have Garrett Wilson, Josh Reynolds, Alan Lazard, Xavier Gibson, and Arian Smith. Quentin Skinner and Tyler Johnson were both cut from the 53-man roster, but they were both signed to the practice squad. Moving along to the tight end position, we have Mason Taylor, Jeremy Rucker, Stone Smart, and Jelani Woods, who we claimed off waivers from the Indianapolis Colts. I'm still hoping that Jeremy Rucker will be the odd man out. He's too much of a liability, like I've been saying for the last couple of weeks. Moving along to the offensive line, Olu Fashanu, John Simpson, Joe Tittman, Elijah Vera Tucker, Armand Membu, Josh Myers, Max Mitchell, Chukwuma Okafor, Xavier Newman, and Essa Pole, who we claimed off the waivers from the Kansas City Chiefs. The Jets cut Marquise Hayes. The only thing I see with this group is Max Mitchell is still on the team, and I don't see Josh Myers starting over Joe Tittman in week one. I don't care what Aaron Glenn says in terms of the competition. We all know that Joe Tittman is going to be the week one starter. Now, switching over to the defensive side of the ball, let's start with the defensive line. Quentin Williams, Will McDonald, Jermaine Johnson, Harrison Phillips, Michael Clemens, Javon Briggs, Jay Tafele, Leonard Taylor III, Braylon McGregor, and Tyler Barron. I'm really surprised that Clemens is still on the team. The position is deep, though, so that's not a bad thing. Moving along to the linebackers. Jamian Sherwood, Quincy Williams, Kiku Madukua, Marcelo Marqueri, Ball, and Cam Jones, picking up off the waiver wire as well, too. Zaire Barnes was released. This is a solid group, with Jamian Sherwood being the quarterback of the defense. Now, let's move right along to the cornerbacks. Sauce Gardner, Brandon Stevens, Michael Carter II, A.Z. Thomas, and Quantez Stiggers. JBC was claimed by the Cleveland Browns off the waiver wire. Moving along to the safety position, Andre Sisco, Tony Adams, Isaiah Oliver, and Malachi Moore. In my previous episode, I predicted that this was going to be the safeties. I had nailed all four, and I'm really happy that Malachi Moore made the team after the game that he had in the final preseason game against the Philadelphia Eagles. He was literally all over the field, especially that interception that he made. Moving over to special teams, no surprise that the kicker is Nick Folk. The punter is Austin McNamara. And the long snapper is Thomas Hennessy. Here are the players that are on the practice squad. So we have Quentin Skinner, Jamal Pritchett, Eric Watts, Peyton Page, Brady Cook, Boog Smith, Harrison Mevis, Cole Laveo, Jordan Clark, Jackson Sermon, Dean Clark, Brandon Smith, Leander Wiegand, and Tyler Johnson. Unfortunately, the Jets did not sign Donovan Edwards to the practice squad. He signed with the Washington Commanders practice squad. Let's move along to today's press conference from GM Darren Mougey. When asked about the roster, he said he feels really good about the roster today. He was asked about the wide receiver room. He said that he likes the wide receiver room. He said that Wilson will be moved around, 3 big bodies of wide receiver, along with Arian Smith as the speedster. When asked about Justin Fields, he says he has improved, especially this week. The overall operation, the command, and seeing the balanced attack. This is his 3rd stop in 3 years with 3 different coordinators, so it will take time, according to Darren Mougey. He praised the additions of Harrison Phillips. Also, he was happy to keep the players that were cut to the practice squad. And the last thing that he said, that he's excited for the defensive line with the moves of Harrison Barnes and Javon Briggs. Let's move along to the latest Jets news. The captains were announced today. Justin Fields, AVT, Jamie Sherwood, Quentin Williams, Garrett Wilson, and Marcelo McCrary-Ball are your captains for this season. Also, the Jets unveiled their Nike rivalries jerseys today. They will be wearing them on December the 7th at home against the Miami Dolphins. I like the jerseys. They're fire. Now, let's get to my season preview for this upcoming season. And I have some questions. The first question that I have is the quarterback, Justin Fields. Will this coaching staff get the best out of him? This is pretty much his last chance to prove that he is still a starter in the NFL. Also, can he pass from the pocket? Can he go through his progression and not lock in one receiver? Can the offensive coordinator, Tanner Anstrand, and the rest of the offensive coaching staff put together a playbook based upon his skill set? My next question will be, does Breece Hall make it all the way to the season knowing that Braylon Allen is over his shoulder? I have a bold prediction, which I will reveal later in the episode. My next question is going to be the offensive line. Can they stay healthy and build the chemistry? On defense, will Sauce Gardner have a bounce-back season and potentially be a Defensive Player of the Year candidate? DJ Reed, who we let go in free agency, is now playing for the Detroit Lions. So will Brandon Stevens step up as CB2? Will Aaron Glenn and his coaching staff overall get the best out of these players that are on the roster? And remember, Jet fans, this is still a young roster. Also, will Xavier Gibson make it all the way through the season, returning punts, now that Jamal Pritchett got signed to the practice squad? Now, let's get to my season predictions for each game of the 2025 season. I will be going game by game. Let's start with week 1 at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers on CBS at 1 p.m. Eastern time. I have that game as a loss. Week 2 at home against the Buffalo Bills, 1 p.m. Eastern time on CBS. I have that game as a loss. Too much Josh Allen. Week 3 on the road against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 1 p.m. Eastern on Fox. I have that game as a loss. Week 4 on Monday Night Football on the road against the Miami Dolphins at 7:15 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN. I have that game as a win. I think that the Jets will do enough on defense to win the game. The Dolphins secondary, specifically the corners, is a huge question mark in my opinion. And I think that Garrett Wilson will be running the track meet. Week 5 at home against the Dallas Cowboys at 1 p.m. Eastern time on Fox. I have that game as a loss. Week 6 in London as the home team against the Denver Broncos at 9:30 a.m. Eastern on NFL Network. I have that game as a loss. Week 7 at home against the Carolina Panthers at 1 p.m. Eastern on Fox. I have that game as a win. Week 8 on the road against the Cincinnati Bengals at 1 p.m. Eastern on CBS. I have that game as a loss. Too much firepower on offense. Week 9 is a bye week so far. I have the Jets record at 2-6. Week 10 at home against the Cleveland Browns at 1 p.m. Eastern on CBS. I have that game as a win. Week 11 on Thursday Night Football on the road against the New England Patriots at 8:15 p.m. Eastern time on Amazon Prime Network. I have that game as a loss. Mini bye week, week 12 on the road against the Baltimore Ravens at 1 p.m. Eastern on CBS. I have that game as a loss as well. Too much Lamar Jackson and the running game will be too much for the Jets to overcome. Week 13 on the road against the Atlanta Falcons at 1 p.m. Eastern on Fox. I have that game as a win. Week 14 at home against the Miami Dolphins at 1 p.m. Eastern on CBS. I have that game as a win. I think that the Dolphins are allergic to cold weather. That's just my personal opinion. Week 15 on the road against the Jacksonville Jaguars at 1 p.m. Eastern time on CBS. I have that game as a win. Week 16 on the road against the New Orleans Saints at 1 p.m. Eastern on CBS. I have that game as a win. Week 17, the final home game of the season against the New England Patriots at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS. I have that game as a loss. And finally, Week 18 on the road against the Buffalo Bills. This game is going to be determined depending on the results of the Week 17 games. The Bills will have nothing to play for, in my opinion, because they will wrap up the AFC East, get the number 1 seed, and lock up home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs with a first-round bye. So I have that game as a win. So I have the Jets' final record at 8-9. We will go over a win total of 5.5 wins because of the coaching. Even though we won't make the playoffs for the 15th straight season, which will extend our longest active streak in North American sports, at least we could compete for a playoff spot and not have the season being over by Halloween. The ceiling is 9 wins. The floor is 6 wins for the Jets. Now, let's get to my bold predictions for the season. I think that Breece Hall will be traded at the trade deadline if the Jets fall out of playoff contention. Justin Fields will have a career high in passing of 3,000 yards. The rushing attack will be top 5. Garrett Wilson will have a career high in targets, catches, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns. He will have double-digit touchdowns. The defense will be top 5. Sauce Gardner will win Defensive Player of the Year. The Jets will make the playoffs and end the longest active playoff drought in North American sports. My last bold prediction is that Aaron Glenn will win Coach of the Year. So, those are my thoughts on what happened in the last preseason game against the Philadelphia Eagles. The updated 53-man roster, which includes the players claimed off the waiver wire, the players on the practice squad, the latest Jets news, my season preview, my game-by-game predictions, and my bold predictions. Now, before I get on out of here for the week, as far as my social media accounts, I currently have 154 followers on TikTok. On Instagram, I have 142 followers. And since my last episode of my podcast, I have picked up 5 new subscribers in the last 7 days. Now I have 54 followers. I'm still hoping to get 100 followers by the last day of the year. On X, I currently have 98 followers, getting close to 100 followers. I'm 2 followers away as I am recording this episode. My numbers are continuing to grow, but I need more followers. So please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. You can also do the same thing on any of the digital platforms of Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or Amazon Music. Hit the follow button on all of my social media accounts. For those of you watching this on my YouTube channel, I have added all of my social media account links as well. Now, with that said, I'm out. I cannot thank y'all enough for the love and support. I really appreciate it. I'm going to be posting key clips of this episode and the latest Jets news on all of my social media accounts of X, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook pages, respectively. Jet fans, you're all awesome. I will be back next week to preview the regular season opener, Week 1, against the Pittsburgh Steelers. One more Sunday left without football, Jets fans. It is right around the corner. They will finally take the field next Sunday when the games will count. And as always, Jets fans, I always end the podcast with the Jets. Jets, Jets, Jets. Stay safe, take care, and go Jets.